Guys, we did it! Oh my god, we finally got Mercosur over the line. And I cannot tell you how excited I am. I mean, you can probably see it because I've been waiting for this video for literally 4 years, ever since I started this channel. Because this deal has been in the making for 25 years now. And finally, we got it over the line yesterday. I mean, I'm excited, and I can't wait to get into the details in this video. Because the EU-Mercosur deal creates literally the largest free trade area on the planet. More than 700 million people, 450 million people in the EU, and 270 million people across Brazil, Argentina, Uruguay, and Paraguay. And while Bolivia did become a full member of Mercosur in 2024, it is not yet part of the EU-Mercosur trade agreement, because Bolivia is still integrating into the bloc's trade system, and it will likely join at a later date. Now, the main reason I'm so excited is that this is a major geopolitical win, especially right now. With the US imposing 15% tariffs on European goods, and Europe running a massive trade deficit with China, this deal will really help diversify our relationships. So, in this video, I'll explain what the deal actually is, and then how each country voted, because this deal only just passed. And then what happens next, including how good I think this is for Europe's economy. So, first the basics. The Mercosur trade deal aims to slash tariffs by up to 91% for everything Europe currently exports. And that's pretty huge, especially on the industrial side. Car and car parts right now taxed at 35%, machinery 20%, chemicals at 18%, and pharmaceuticals at 14%. And all of that will eventually go down to 0%, which is great news for cars from Germany. And the same applies the other direction, for goods coming from South America into the EU. And then, of course, there's agriculture too. And this is where things get a lot more sensitive than cars or machinery. I mean, I'm sure you've seen all the farmers out on the street the last couple of days and even years. Still though, Europe does seem to come out ahead, because most tariffs on agricultural foods will eventually be scrapped, and that includes dairy products like cheese, chocolate, confectionery, and wines. All very good news for exporters, even in countries like France. But it's not a free-for-all. Some quotas remain in place. Take cheese, for example. Europe will only get duty-free access for around 30,000 tons per year, phased in over 10 years. And then there are the truly sensitive products, the ones that can trigger political storms inside of the EU if imports rise too fast. Things like honey, rice, or sugar, and especially beef and poultry. Here, the deal sets super strict tariff-free quotas. 45,000 tons for honey, 60,000 tons for rice, and 180,000 tons for sugar. However, the main point of contention really is beef. The deal would allow an additional 99,000 tons of South American beef into the EU each year, at a reduced tariff of just 7.5%. And on top of that, 180,000 tons of poultry would come in duty-free. And this is what made farmers furious, especially French farmers. They really hate the Mercosur deal, and their main issue is unfair competition. Now, to be very, very clear, EU food standards apply. The final imported product has to be safe. Beef can't have hormones, and foods can't exceed EU pesticide limits. So what's the problem then? Well, it's all about how the food is produced. European farmers have to follow some of the strictest environmental and animal welfare rules in the world. Meanwhile, though, imports from Mercosur countries do not have to follow the same production rules. For example, a farmer in South America might use a pesticide that's banned in the EU because it kills bees or pollutes groundwater. If that chemical doesn't leave residues on the final product, the food can still be imported into the EU. European farmers call this a double standard. They're banned from using certain tools, but still have to compete with imports that use them. And then there's also the environmental part. The deal includes clear commitments to respect the Paris Climate Agreement. But these commitments have very weak enforcement mechanisms. That means, if Brazil cuts down more rainforest, the response will most likely only be talks, reports, and strongly worded concerns. No hard action. Okay, to be fair, all of that does sound a bit concerning. But to be honest, Brussels has acted. First, there are the super strict import quotas that you've seen before. The beef quota equals roughly 1.5% of the EU's annual beef production. For poultry, that's about 1.3%. And for pig meat, it's a mere 0.1%. Guys, seriously, what are we talking about here? In other words, the volumes are super limited, leaving so much room for European farmers. Second, in recent months, the European Commission has made concessions to win over skeptical governments and farming groups. For example, it plans to make 45 billion euros from the EU budget available to farmers earlier. It has also proposed to temporarily reduce import duties on certain fertilizers to lower input costs for farmers. And third, and this is so often overlooked, the deal includes safeguard clauses. If imports surge unexpectedly and seriously disrupt EU markets, the EU can pause or limit imports. But even with all of these measures, EU member states remain deeply divided. And yesterday was such a nail-biting moment as the 27 governments finally had their say on the deal. To pass, it needed a qualified majority, at least 55% of member states, representing 65% of the EU's population. Plenty of countries endorsed the deal. But France, Poland, Ireland, Austria, and Hungary opposed it. That means all eyes were on Italy, because just 2 weeks ago, Giorgia Meloni postponed Italy's decision to January, hoping to extract some last-minute concessions. But yesterday, Italy voted in favor, tipping the balance. And that means the Mercosur deal, after so many years, has passed the Council. Next up is Ursula von der Leyen, who is expected to travel to South America to formally sign the agreement, as early as potentially next week. And then there is still one final hurdle, a vote in the European Parliament. But this should be manageable. The centrist bloc, EPP, S&D, and Renew, have pledged their support. And with Italy now on board, half of the ECR group is likely to also vote in favor. Therefore, the deal is expected to secure a comfortable majority. So, what is the impact? Big, at least on paper. Studies estimate that bilateral EU-Mercosur trade could jump by around 37%, reaching roughly 126 billion euros by 2026. And the big winners are most likely to be Germany, Italy, Belgium, and the Netherlands. And the deal isn't just about reducing tariffs. It also provides European businesses with access to public procurement contracts in Mercosur countries, creating lots of new opportunities. And my favorite one, a key advantage is strategic autonomy. Have a look at our trade with the US and China. It is massive, and we need to diversify so urgently. And the Mercosur deal alone could well grow well beyond the 126 billion euros after 2026. And on top of all that, the EU is also pursuing agreements with India, Mexico, Indonesia, and others, which will hopefully be signed in the coming months and years, which all helps to make a real dent in our dependence on the two superpowers. Here's what I think. Look, there's really not much more to say. I love this deal, and it's absolutely the right step to take. There are so many safeguards in place to protect our farmers. The quotas are extremely strict. And if you can't compete with just 1.5% of Europe's beef consumption coming from South America, then I don't know, it's time to rethink your business model. But hey, I might be wrong, and I'm sure I'm going to get some flack here. So if there's any farmers watching this video, please comment below of what I'm not seeing that is the big issue here. Because I also think we need to look at our other sectors. Look at our industry and how hard they've been struggling over the last couple of years. We need to help them get more and more competitive again. Just take one example, Stellantis. I think they're the parent company of Fiat and Peugeot. They've cut 10,000 jobs because their factories are only at 30% capacity. And this is a company that would benefit massively from a free trade deal with South America. And I mean, don't even get me started about the auto industry in Germany. All of those companies would benefit from more exports to South America. So for me, this was a massive net positive. And I can only hope that the other trade agreements, Mexico, India, and Indonesia, and all of the others that the EU is currently working on, get signed quickly. Because this isn't just about some trade here and there. This is about European sovereignty and strategic autonomy. so that a Trump cannot boss us or push us around with his annoying tariffs, so that the next time we can just say, no thanks, Trump, we'll trade with other partners instead. Anyway, let me know what you think in the comments below. And also a huge thank you to our amazing Patreons and YouTube members, because over the last couple of days, so many of you have signed up, and that genuinely means so much. You make all of this work and everything we do here possible. And as you know, this office we can now pay from your contributions. And we're now also getting closer to our next goal, covering our basic overheads, things like software licenses, equipment upkeep, and other admin costs through your monthly donations. That way, every euro we earn from YouTube can go straight back into the team and into making better content. So, if you're able to, consider supporting us on Patreon. In the meantime, check out the video we've linked right here, where we break down all of the 2025 European elections. And we had quite a lot of fun making this video, because we determined a clear winner and a clear loser of all of the elections combined. And to be honest, the results were genuinely surprising. So, check it out. And thank you to our presidents, Alexander Christian Peter Clement, Daniel Eupedia Europe, Giuseppe HEVD J. Kiki Loxin, Mikael Ave Europe Rashid, Shauki Jan Steffen Unite Europe. See you in the next video.